I'm excited about sharing this book with you today. I am so excited to share this book with you today. And as a little background, I'm going to actually say that, the last couple books I've read have all been about living younger, and they've all pushed toward non-processed foods, natural foods, vegetarian lifestyle. So it wasn't very surprising that I actually picked up the book Ultra Processed People by Chris Tullican. I actually had it sitting there waiting to be read. And a couple days before I read the book, I was on Facebook and I was flipping through some things, and I saw this maybe 10 minutes video about a doctor in the UK who was talking about processed foods, the ultra processed foods. And he did a study where he switched up his diet. At the beginning of the study, it said that his typical diet had him eating about 20% of ultra processed foods. And for his study, it's just a personal experiment, he decided that he was going to switch it and eat 80% of ultra processed foods, because that is the average amount of ultra processed foods that people ate in the UK at that point. So that's what he did. And the video was fascinating because it talked about how he would eat and he would just keep eating. He would just keep eating. And he was eating a lot more food than he normally ate, and this and that and the other. And it was very, very interesting. I actually talked about it with Jason, and we went to visit his parents, and I actually brought it up there because it had really made a mark on me. And even more important is at the end of the 30 days, he went back and redid all of the tests, all of the medical tests that he had done at the beginning of the experiment. And they found some very shocking things. They found that the receptors in his brain had shifted and adjusted and were looking more like an addict after only 30 days of eating a heavy ultra processed food diet. And it made me sit back and think. And for that reason, I went ahead and moved this book up to the top of the list because I was like, okay, I want to read more about this. Imagine my surprise when it told the exact same story that I had just watched. I'm not 100% certain because I can't remember the name of the doctor or find the video that I watched. But I'm 99% certain that that same doctor is the person that wrote this book. Talk about interesting. So this book is actually talking about our ultra processed foods. And it starts with some statistics, and it starts talking about the human race as a general for America and the UK. And it says we are at the most obese that we have ever been. And we are also the most malnourished. How can that be? How can we be malnourished yet obese? We're obviously eating food. So what is happening? And his theory and his research that he has done says that it's because of the way our foods are processed. He actually started by talking to somebody that has worked in that industry, and they started talking about how they are processing our foods. It's eye-opening. Seriously, it's very eye-opening. They are taking sludge, literally like sludge, and bleaching and cleaning and turning it into an edible product. And then they're flavoring it with sugars and sweeteners. And then they're flavoring it to make it taste like food. It's not healthy foods. It's nothing nutritional. All of those ingredients that you can't say and that you don't know what they are most likely some product that was at first not edible. Like literally, the book was shocking with what they're using to make these products. Why are companies doing that? Well, they're doing this because of price. They're doing it because of price. Because if they can offer a product for 5 cents cheaper, the consumer might take it. They do it so that they can ship the product further, longer. They do it for lots of reasons. It is all to do with cost and efficiency. It has nothing to do with health. It was very shocking. And he actually talks about how, the stuff that we're eating doesn't have nutrition. It's not nutritious. The calories in something that is ultra processed, you can buy something that's ultra processed and you can buy something that's not ultra processed. And it's going to say the calories are the same, but nutritionally speaking, it's really not the same because there's no nutritional value to what they're making our food with. And because of that, we are becoming malnourished. He actually says that's partly why we are an obese nation. There are a lot of different things he talked about and why, but some of the highlights are the fact that a lot of these processed foods are processed in a way that's actually inhibiting our sensors that let us know that we are full. He talked about how our bodies break down the food, and as it goes through our system, that's giving us the signals of, hey, I'm full, I'm this and that and the other. But these ultra processed foods are actually just very soft. They're not causing our bodies to actually work to break them down. So we're not actually feeling full because of that. That's one of the theories that's out there. There's another theory that, we're not feeling full and we're just keep eating a lot more because our bodies are just waiting for the nutrition. They're waiting for that, and since it's not getting nutrition, our bodies just say we want more and more and more. He actually talked about a study that was done in the 20s. It was a study where a doctor somehow talked some mothers into doing this study. And she found young babies that were like 9 months or a year old who hadn't had a whole lot of experience with food, but were malnourished due to, some issue with the mother's breast milk. The first child was Earl, and Earl was severely malnourished. And so she did a study and she did a test. And what it is she actually had a whole list of foods that Earl could eat. It was very unprocessed. It was meat. It was barley, rice, fruit and vegetables, milk, basic ingredients, nothing highly processed. And the rules were simple. You laid the food out in front of the kid. You gave no indication of which one was good, which one was bad, what they should eat, and you just let the kid go. And they were worried because, this is a 9-month-old baby. And so they put the baby there, and immediately the baby dug into carrots and ate carrots like crazy. They found out that Earl ate what he needed to eat. He didn't overeat, he just ate, and he started to gain weight, and he got himself to a steady state of weight, and he stayed there. And very quickly, within a week, he was no longer malnourished. Now, even more important in this study, Earl had rickets, and they chose to not treat him because that was the study. But what they did is they offered him a little glass of cod liver oil, which will help treat rickets. They did not force it upon him, but Earl started drinking it himself, sporadically. And some days he drank a lot, some days he didn't drink a lot. But Earl started drinking the cod liver oil. And a couple weeks into the thing, he stopped drinking the cod liver oil, never touched it again. Interestingly enough, right about the time he stopped drinking the cod liver oil was right when he no longer had rickets. He had healed himself by eating naturally the foods that his body told him to eat. Kind of interesting. Kind of goes hand in hand with that Forever Young book that I just read. That food can heal. So, they talk about a lot. They talk about artificial sweeteners. They talk about how, they're supposed to be good. Health and diet foods, fat-free, sugar-free, is supposed to be good, but it has artificial foods in it, which is bad. And these artificial foods are actually messing up the metabolism in people. They're actually causing more cravings of sugar because they're not healthy. And there's test after test to show this. It is an eye-opener, and it will probably change your life if you read it. I mean, just for an example. So very interestingly enough, I read this book, and the day that I finished it and wrote that, I actually was like, oh, I just ate some Ready Whip, or actually a store brand, and I'm like, bad stuff. It probably has this stuff. And I'm like, but it tastes so good. And it didn't have a whole lot of bad stuff. I was like, cool. But that was the end. So the next day I switched over to a tub of Cool Whip, a store brand of Cool Whip. And I looked at the ingredient list and I'm like, look at all that stuff. And so, but I was like, you know what? I won't buy it again after this time. Took a bite of it and I'm like, that just doesn't even taste good. I love Cool Whip. Or maybe I should say I loved Cool Whip. But, I don't know if it was just my taste buds have changed or if I read this book and I realized that what I'm eating is sludge. But, don't think I want much Cool Whip anymore. It made me sit down. I'm starting to look at every ingredient because I don't want that. I want my body to function correctly. And I honestly think that my weight problems are partly because I'm not eating the right foods. I want to feed my body the foods that actually are good for it. I do it for my bird. We don't buy, we make sure we buy a cold pressed pellet for him because we don't want the nutrients to be heated out of it. But I'm not doing that for myself because every time I buy something that has all of these extra fake, ultra processed ingredients, I am feeding myself junk. That's not worth anything. Read the book. Make your choice, but I know for me, processed foods is going out the door. I'm going to do my best to keep dropping as much as I can. Read the book, let me know, and also let me know, how much processed foods do you eat? No excuses.